the lead story in the Sunday Times today, suggesting that Home Office advice about the dangers posed by China in this country were ignored before those prosecutions were dropped. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I haven't seen that story, so I can't comment on the specifics of that. But what I do know is that no minister had any involvement whatsoever in the decision relating to the prosecution. That is rightly a matter for the Independent Crown Prosecution Service. And I don't really have any more to add to that. It's an independent decision. It was made by the CPS. We were disappointed to see the case dropped. We already know that the law has changed, so any future cases would be tried under legislation in which we think this prosecution could have continued, but this was not a decision made by any minister.
You do regard China then as a hostile actor, do you, in this country?
Well, look, we describe China as a challenge. Certainly, it does pose a challenge to us in some areas, and we've taken a hard-headed and realistic view of the relationship. We will compete where we need to. We will collaborate with the Chinese where that's in our national interest to do so, and of course, we will challenge when their interests do not align with our own. So I think we have a hard-headed and realistic view of the position of the Chinese state in relation to our own, but in respect of the trial for espionage, that has been a decision entirely by the Independent Crown Prosecution Service.
Well, that's not what the Sunday Times says. The Sunday Times says the decision was taken following an intervention by Jonathan Powell, who is the National Security Advisor, who, unless I'm wrong, does act on behalf of ministers and the Prime Minister.
Well, look, I don't know what's in that story, and I can't comment on the details of that story. What I do know is that there has been absolutely no ministerial involvement.
But the point is, if Jonathan Powell was involved, and I don't think anyone denies that this meeting took place, that is ministerial involvement, isn't it?
I'm not going to get into hypotheticals of a story I have not read and the details of which I am sure are going to be heavily disputed.
I have to say, it's a bit surprising that this is the lead story in the Sunday Times. You're doing the newspaper round. It's a story that relates to the Home Office, and you haven't read or been briefed on it. That seems
forgive me, Adam, but I have been in Manchester dealing with the fallout of an anti-Semitic terrorist attack on British soil that has claimed the lives of 2 British Jews. So forgive me, but there are other matters here as well. What I do know in relation to the case is we were very disappointed in the Home Office to see the prosecution dropped. It is rightly a matter for the Independent Crown Prosecution Service. My understanding is that the evidence that was presented that brought the prosecution in the first place, there was no material change in the initial evidence and the evidence that would have gone to trial. So I do think it is a matter for the Crown Prosecution Service rightly to respond to. What I can say is that the legislation has changed, and it is our view in the Home Office that any future such cases would not be caught out in the same way that this case has been, and would be able to get to prosecution and trial.